Meeting to order for Thursday, April 25th? Yep, 25th, all day. All right, all three selectmen are present, town administrator is present, recording secretary is present, Mr. Leo Martell is present recording for the town citizens, along with some people in the audience tonight. Okay, gentlemen, I have some minutes.
Make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes from April 18th, 2019.
Okay,
So ended.
Yeah.
Second.
all in favor? Here, no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
By the way, that's gotta be the minutes with the least amount of,
Yeah, there's just a couple of small things Lee fixed up.
Get it back to Jim.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Took them right out of there, didn't I? Your agenda? Oh, no.
Yeah, that's right.
All right.
We're gonna open up a public comment now. Okay, we have a lot to discuss about, tonight everyone's here for the discussion about the rate increases. I'll start with Leo Martell, public comment. Brian, good evening,
Good evening.
public comment now,
Not at this point.
okay? Oh. Sorry,
Thank you.
okay. I'll bring it back to the board and we'll go right into,
Excuse me, Mike,
go ahead.
I did not specify the time on the agenda, but it's at 7:15 is how it's posted, so
Okay.
we wanna wait until.
Yeah, I'm gonna go through the mailbox, we're gonna defer the public hearing to 6:15 as was advertised. Pass it to Jennifer. Okay, we got, in the mailbox, we have we got the monthly report from the planning and zoning. That was very interesting. As an outstanding action, she did allude to, and gave us a copy this week of the letter that went out to the gentleman's property with a lot of vehicles on it. And that's a copy of it, right? You saw that, John?
Saw that, too.
And we're just waiting on a response from him. He did make a comment that was, he said, the person said it was zoned for commercial. I didn't think we had commercial zones.
Correct, and just to elaborate on that, I did get a call from him today, this gentleman, and, he was under the assumption that, when he approached, Simon Audette to purchase the property in the year 2000, that he was told it was zoned commercial. So I explained to him that even if, in fact, we have, information that it's zoned commercial, we would have to have the records of the building department and, the lot file up to speed. And I explained to him and used the example of the, Ray Road commercial establishment, whereas it was a commercial building by code, but every time a new business went into it, they had a different type of use, therefore they had to go through the whole process. So I said, in order to get our records straight and to clarify for him, I think he's just looking for clarification.
Okay.
As to whether he really truly has a zoning, for commercial use, and if not, he wants to, get that ironed out. So I think we're both gonna be on the same page, but we
Okay.
have some, additional, homework to do to research that.
So we'll call that work in progress.
Yep.
To answer his concerns.
His concern, yeah.
So that's the same thing. Okay, Lee, I got a stack of signatures here. Can you
Yep.
walk us through this, please?
As you know, I've been extremely busy, with other duties throughout, my position, and I've had CPA work with me to, assist me in reconciling the town's cash funds. And we finally, completed the remainder of the year, and we're currently working on, February and March of this year. But what I have there for you is the summary sheet that, the treasurer reviewed today and signed off on, and the auditor typically would like to have the Board of Selectmen sign off on it as well. So what the attachments are all the supporting paperwork from the different accounts that I would normally use the BMSI reports against the Quicken reports that the treasurer provides, and do a summary page so that it shows there's,
How quick do you need signatures on that one?
I don't see the signature pages. I see
yeah, it's
one.
underneath the first one. It's underneath the cover sheet. And-
I see, okay.
And that's where you sign off, and
Do you need them tonight, Lean?
it doesn't matter, they're complete. I can leave them in the basket so you can sign off on them, if you wanna review them. Because obviously the, BMSI reconciles to,
These are the monthly reconcile.
accrual, and then, the treasurer reconciles to cash. So there's almost a duplicate
I'd
of,
just like to review them and take a little time to read them and then sign them.
Okay.
I can leave them in the basket, Mike, if it's
Yeah,
easier.
that might be all right.
Yeah.
It's only July through, July.
December.
June through December, yeah. Last half year. All right, that's good. Inbox.
Put back in the basket.
All right, there was I wanna hold off to the road agent arrives to talk about Guinea Road and what the actions on Guinea Road would be. So we can chime in on this. He's not here right now.
And I think that would be a longer discussion too, so we should,
Hopefully just defer that. I don't have any, don't have much more in my box then.
I can fill a few minutes of void if you want.
Go ahead.
Okay, I just want to let the board know that I have, finalized the format of the first tax warrant, or the estimated tax warrant that's due in July. Pending any, abatements or settlements, we'll be picking up $4,214,000 in new taxable revenue. The original estimate for the town's budget and warrants was a decrease of 26 cents. This additional revenue will, we're looking at an estimated decrease of 26 cents on the town side. On the other hand, I did some quick crunching of numbers for the school and the operating budget, of the school. And as everyone knows, or people may not know, that your July bill is considered an estimate, which is basically derived from the prior year divided by 2. That is your July bill. Because we received money back in 2018, it's actually going to deflate the July bill
Make it appear artificially low.
artificially low, and so basically what that calculation is, so last year, 2018's tax rate was set at $22.53. So the half bill would typically be half of that, which is $11.27. Now, fast forward with the corrected amount of what we need to look at for the local school with the new property values will come in at, that's local school in Swift, will come in at $18.93. I estimated the state school an extra 10 cents for $2.48. The county, I'm increasing an additional 10 cents for $3.21. And the town where we will come in at $4.34. So the proposed new tax rate for the December bill will be run in the area of $28.96. So if you take that amount and divide by 2, the true July bill should be based on $14.48. So that, there is a difference, or a net loss of $3.21, because we're using last year's estimate. And what I did was I took the 1127 times the $300,000 home to give an idea of what that person could expect for a July bill, and we're looking at $3,381.
Versus December
But
bill.
if you go with the December bill, $28.96, and divide that by 2, you're looking at $14.48, excuse me. Now you have to also add the $3.21, so you're looking at $17.69 times that same $300,000 home. The second bill, you can expect a tax bill of $5,307. So next year's following tax bill, combine those two, that will be a true July bill. So I just
Thing
want
is-
to,
So that's, the question is, can we borrow the chief's Kevlar. I don't think we have. But the thing is, it begs the question, it was nice last year to get the money back from the school,
Yeah,
but our taxes are gonna be artificially low in June.
yeah,
Then they go, like, right before Christmas, they're gonna go exorbitantly artificially high, and we won't get back on track for the following year.
correct.
And the question is, do we wanna contact RSA and change that so we can withdraw more? I think it's late in the game.
DRA, yes.
DRA, I'm sorry.
Well, I'd be willing to take a stab at it. I just got a letter from Goffstown, owning property in Goffstown, that they petitioned the DRA, and they were, allowed to do that, so they're increasing the July bill artificially to help offset what the
To
real.
normalize the tax rate.
Right, to normalize it, was
Okay.
a good way to put it, but,
And as a minimum, I would consider sending on a letter to the residents in July about following this tax bill, this unofficially tax bill, and saying, can celebrate your low taxes, but be prepared for the December whammy that's coming down the road.
yeah.
And give a quick, simple explanation so residents don't get off, they don't be not thinking about it right before Christmas.
Yeah.
I don't, what do you think, Dave?
I think just send a mailer out, I think, we know that last fall's bill was artificially low. This one's gonna be artificially low.
Mhm.
There are two low bills, there was at one point two high bills as well, so people paid it in, and people wanna get it back, and I don't think that we should adjust it, even though it might soften the blow for some of them. I think they want all their money back, and whether they save it or don't save it is up to them.
Okay,
But I think just maybe list an explanation.
Yeah, an explanation.
I would like to time it so it goes after, the tax bill is going out.
Maybe a
And we,
week after.
yeah, and we can work with the school board to help us get the right terminology in there. Because
What did we talk about mailers on?
we were,
Couple of meetings
we
ago.
were gonna insert it with the tax bill possibly.
Right,
And you
but that
can't
can't be done.
no, we have to double.
But we talked about the school can send the mailer out, correct?
Yeah, but she said there's cost involved, but,
Seemed fairly minimal.
yeah, it should be.
I'd say we can just work with them to get the verbiage, and then we can, I don't mind us sending it out, as a service to the residents.
Yeah, just can't go with the tax.
Your thoughts?
Well, I think we should just leave it the way it is. I mean, that's, people should have anticipated that was gonna happen.
Right.
Because you made that adjustment, they knew it was gonna be low, and unfortunately, some people may bite the bullet in the fall, but I think if most people plan for it, it's not gonna be a
No,
different world.
but a letter, I think a letter would be appropriate. What do you think?
Yeah, and probably notice that, that it is artificially low, but it is gonna go up, but I'm sure you're gonna reach a lot of people that already understand that.
Yeah,
And I think there has been, the school board brought it to a lot of people's attention. We did at town meeting, and also it's been a hot topic, so it's been around now for.
I can't say we're doing our diligence
Okay.
to get it
Alright.
out. Okay,
We've
Time.
reached our time.
all right. Now I'll open up the public hearing for, to review our fee schedules for 2019.
Do I need to make extra copies? I had some over here.
Is anybody from the building department here to do? go
No,
over those?
they had very minimal changes, so she asked me to speak on her behalf.
I'm ready,
Okay, so,
not gonna make a note to remember.
first page, she's actually just looking to add, solar permit and generator permit under the, building permit fee schedules is, a trade permit. Those are not currently listed clearly, so they have just been assuming that it comes under electrical, plumbing, and other permits that we issue. So she'd like to just add those to the name, the descriptive names of the permits, and no other changes within that department.
So they did nothing to clean up the application process on zoning and planning and.
That's some, no, actually, I have that included in your packet, but because she didn't get anything from the planning board, I asked her to provide what they currently have, for fee schedule, but,
Cause there's always been some confusion there with the $50 fee at the top that they have, and then which ones to add for which ones to don't. I wish they would just add that $50 fee to the appropriate one.
It's on the back page.
Yeah. I'm familiar with it.
Okay.
Okay, well, it's their department, so I guess we'll just go with that. I have no problem with these new proposed ones.
Bob, any
No,
comments?
no problem.
For the public, they proposed $50 fee for solar permit and $50 fee for generator permit.
Where there is none existing now, those are new permits. Any comments? Go ahead.
All right, generator permit. Can we define what generator is? Because you have standby generators that are permanently mounted and wired in. You have some that are portable generators that you can plug in with a gen trans switch. You have those that you can use a block on your breaker panel and plug it in, reverse through a dryer plug. So I mean, there's all types of.
Want it further defined.
So, can I just
Go
speak
ahead.
on that a little bit? Typically, a roll-around generator that would require, reverse, electrical would require electrical permit. So that's where that would fall under. Whereas a stationary generator would require an inspection, so that meets code for the fire department, so that there's exhaust and no issues with the installation location of a permanent. And that's where they wanted the wording generator added into their, independent fees for, a flat fee rate.
I guess you're asking,
You just made the water leak.
It just muddied the water?
No, you're asking for granularity, is it
Yeah.
just for stationary permits or for, say, a portable permit?
Oh, that's what you were asking?
Yes.
Oh, okay, you wanted clarification, okay.
Just for stationary.
Stationary,
It's just a stationary, I'm sorry.
Gotcha.
Do you think it would be helpful if we
Yeah.
include the word
yes,
stationary?
I do.
Yeah,
Okay.
stationary generator.
We can do that.
Any other comments on this section? Hearing none, we're gonna move on. So Woody, you're up. Good evening, how are you?
Good, you?
Not too bad, nice day today.
Oh, yeah. So on ours, we haven't adjusted our fees in many years. One of the big ones is gonna be on the demo line. We have a lot more stuff going in demo now. You go across the first, we don't have scales, which at some point, we're gonna have to look at doing something with a set of scales. But for right now, we have to measure everything off, and that's how we are charged for it. So currently, it's $1.50 for the, you can see right there, looking to increase to $1.75. And then you drop down the line for your shingles, sheetrock. It comes in at, we have that at $2.25, it's currently $2, it's gonna go $2.25, that's what we're looking at. And then you go down again, you see the barrels, they were at 10, so we were increasing the other ones, you have to increase that one as well, so that went to 12. And then we added a line, we have times where we get a lot of cement blocks and bricks and that kind of stuff. And for years, it's never been charged for, and that's a real heavy material going into demo now. So that's why that's a new fee at $2.50. And then the other new one, for years, we've been able to put your toilets, your ceramics into the glass. You can't do that no more, not where we're shipping it. So I did some searching around on the internet, talked to some other towns. A going fee per pound is about 9 cents a pound. I looked on the internet, see what some of this stuff's weighing, actually had, cause I had a town tell me what a toilet weighed, I didn't believe him until I actually checked it, and he was right. So we're looking at to do like $9 on this stuff here in this line. The next line down, your appliances is gonna stay the same. Tires for the time being, that's, for this year will be the same. Propane tanks are the same. The next change you're gonna see is in, mattresses and box springs. One thing we're finding, the mattresses and box springs that we're getting are a lot bigger now than when we first started charging for them. So it's taking more time to tear them apart. We do this, for one, it takes up less space in the trash box, and the metal, we're pulling the metal out of it. And then some of the wood product is going into the demo box. The next, let's see, and that's it for changes.
Did, yeah, I noticed some you kept the same, why, just, the price is pretty much stable across the board?
They seem to be at this point, like I said, the biggest one, I ran some numbers for you, just, so you can understand why. Our demo costs right now are up to $71.36 a ton, with another increase coming you know, at contractual increase at the first of the year.
So that's your big outlier then?
That's a big one. Last year we took in, last year it cost us $9,667.85 to get rid of the demo that was produced. We only took in $6,800.33, leaving a deficit of $2,834.85. You're never gonna be, the way we do it will never be exact, but I'd like to see us get a little bit closer than what we are.
Sure.
And I think by doing this, we'll get a little bit closer. Like I said, some of this we've never charged for before, so this is kind of a learning experience. Just the other day, we got 4 toilets in. There's additional 400 pounds in the box.
They knew the prices were coming up high, so they decided to get rid of it early.
So, yeah, I actually went online and toilets were ranging from 80 pounds to like 115 pounds.
I'm with you.
I didn't believe it. I did not believe it. I looked at elongated bowls, I looked at round bowls, I'm like, there's no way a toilet weighs that, but they do.
Depends on what I'm sitting on.
Yeah. So,
Okay, gentlemen, bring it back to the, board, anything?
I think the increases seem reasonable, they're not huge jumps.
No,
Yeah,
Did a good job.
And the majority of them are staying the same, so it's very, very small amount of increases, yeah.
members of the public, any comments on the transfer station fees?
Yeah, I do.
Go ahead, sir. For the
There's no
record?
place you can use, cement blocks or bricks or pavement to fill down there? 'Cause the problem is, every time you start charging or something, you know where it's gonna end up?
oh yeah,
It's gonna be on the roads. People are gonna throw cement blocks, bricks, everything beside the road, so they're paying, where,
Toilets.
you know, if you're not, I understand charge if you gotta haul it to a
right.
facility, but there's no place you could use it to fill,
You crush it and use it for fill.
push it
I'm
on
not-
the bank or something. I don't know how much you get in, but just,
We don't get a ton of it, and some of the time, some of the stuff we're getting, your chimney blocks that are covered in creosote. Don't really wanna push that over the banking, on town forest property. We haven't had a ton of it come in, it's just been a few times it has come in.
It's heavy.
It's a heavy material, and it was actually, the last one that came in, was probably about a year and a half ago, and it was a whole chimney, and it was, creosote block, and we ended up putting it in the demo box. That was pretty much for the reason for that.
Have you talked to DES about, to do with stuff like that?
Nope.
You might be able to give you some pointers on what to do with it.
I actually have them, going to a class on Thursday next week with DES.
You can just ask the question.
Yep.
Okay. Any other comments?
What happens if you only bring half a toilet, you only pay $4.50?
There you go.
I think there's some discretion there to be used by, to me, I brought construction trash, and the thing is, that they take the tape measure out, measure it, give me a rough estimate, and the thing is, they never try to screw anybody, and I think a common sense thing.
I mean, if you're doing a full toilet, I mean, the bowl and the tank, I can see it being close to 100 pounds, but I mean, if you only bring in half of it, for
I'm
some
sure,
reason.
I'm sure.
Right, I mean, one thing about these, you gotta use some discretion on it. Like, for instance, I'll just throw this out there, we do have people that rip the sleep sofa apart, we don't charge them for it. You have people that rip their own mattresses apart, we don't charge you for it. There are mattresses that don't have a spring in them, we don't charge for it. It's the ones that we gotta deal with that, you know what I mean, so you gotta use some discretion on it. Like I said, and if we get a lot of fallback from it, we'll have to come in and figure out what to do next, but we gotta have a starting point.
Yeah. And just the chief's comment, chief, on stuff being on the side of the road, I mean, I think the biggest thing I find I would rather see brick on the road than tires. But we've been charging for tires forever, and tires, they're either on the road or, I mean, nothing's gonna stop someone trying to be cheap.
yeah, you know, motorcycle road.
Yeah, true. Okay. Gentlemen, I think, Woody, you did a good job in my opinion, thank you. I'm in consensus of that, I think it's all good.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sit down.
okay, moving on. Chief, talk to us. The last time we adjusted the rate was 7 years ago in 2012. The board had allowed the rates to increase to what it currently is. So what we did is, most of the details that we work are outside of town. So we looked at what the rates were, the going rates in the towns that we work, and kind of racked and stacked to see where we fit among everybody else. And average-wise, we're at a deficit for everything other than the price we charge for use of
It's
the
right on
cruiser,
the top of your,
which is,
right there.
it's a little bit higher than the others, but, so we're not looking to do an increase there. But the increase that I'm recommending will just kind of bring us up to about the middle of what the other towns are charging. Okay.
Chief, we had some earlier discussion in reference to the cruiser rate not going up from $15. And, as a board, we thought that because those cars are idling and running, and, they are quite costly to replace, we were looking at that line item not changing at all. We thought it should go up a slight amount. Do you have any suggestions for us on that?
We can raise it if you want. I just saw that when we raised it initially, we went up pretty substantially on the cruiser rate, and we've been higher than a lot of the towns that do charge. That's the reason that I didn't recommend a change there. I thought we were.
Yeah, and I read that into your form, but I think the rest of the board, went over it, and even with your increased officer rates, when you add the cruiser in, we're still lower on them than a lot of the
Yeah,
other towns.
if you take the
so.
net average across all the rates, our package, some of the other towns are charging higher for personnel cost and on the admin side. And so, but I think to buy a car today compared to what in 2012, it hasn't been flat.
I don't disagree.
Yeah, so.
We thought about going up maybe $3 to $5 on the car end of it, and we were wondering what your feedback would be on that.
I would probably be more inclined to go on the $3 rather than the $5.
Okay.
So go to 18 instead of 15.
You could do that.
And on the admin side, I was gonna go from 10 to 15, and I'm going with other towns, we are very, very low compared to other towns. And what it does is, every time we get a detail, it's impacting we have to collect it, this
Yeah,
end.
no, I get that. We're $3, about $3 an hour lower than the
Right.
the average.
So I'm saying 15 would be a good starting point there.
That's what you wanna do.
Yep. And I have no problem with the officer. That, I'll give you a thumbs up there, it was a reasonable amount. Bob, anything?
Yeah, well, I'm meeting you guys part way, cause I was proposing the 20, only cause vehicles are gonna go up within the next few months, almost 25%, if you see what GM came out with and Ford, that's their increase. And if you look at what the price is today, before it's gone up, it's substantial. So I kinda try to pick the middle of the road so that these guys weren't 100% with the 20, so I would live with the 18.
Okay, I think we have consensus, gentlemen.
Are you good with those?
Are you comfortable with
Yeah.
this? Okay, we're looking at you for input too.
No, I told you what, Bill,
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily unreasonable to do that. And if you're set with that, there's one more that's not on the agenda, I want to throw at you. What I'd like to do is I'd like to eliminate the cost for the pistol and, the license, the pistol revolver licenses, I'm trying to get the right verbiage. The pistol revolver licenses, we went from over 100 a year down to 20 or 30, somewhere in that range. You remember the number, Lean?
I
It
don't
was like,
recall.
it was around
off the top.
30. So, I'd just like to eliminate that fee, we'll give something back to the residents here.
So you're gonna draw more residents in.
Can I speak on that?
Yep.
I just feel that there's two departments involved with issuing this one permit, and if it's $10 for 4 years, I feel like it's an offset for our time and interruption.
But there doesn't have to be, if he doesn't collect a fee, they don't have to come to you.
Oh, they won't come to
So
us?
they will just have, if they don't collect a fee, they won't have to see Lean then.
That's not how it's,
We could issue them, but there's more reliable access with the town offices, so we would,
yeah. The
Like to be able
problem,
to give that as an option, but
We're-
we
They're more
certainly
reliable
should.
than the police
the
department?
problem
Well,
they've had
you
in the
don't know
past
we're
is,
gonna be there, so.
they're not always staffed at the police department where we have set
Yeah.
hours and people could come here, so they would still have to come here, we'd have to look at the license, make sure that everything's correct on the permit, and then give it to them, have them sign it, and give it to them.
So you're not trying to shoot them down, you just want them to know there's an additional cost.
I'm ambivalent on it,
There's
You-
some
you-
over there.
I know.
We look at about $300 or $400 a year, that's what it comes to.
And they're all residents that are coming from.
Yeah,
the
all the
outside
resident
non-residents.
licenses. So I just throw it out there as
And we provide a lot of services to the town, we are now fully staffed as notaries, everyone in the office,
Yeah.
and we provide that for free to our residents, which I think is a plus, a lot of people like to hear that and know they can come here for that service. This is something that, I don't know, I just think
I could hear some other opinions for anyone in the room on this.
yeah, I guess.
Craig?
So what happens if they change the law a couple of years from now, from going to concealed carry automatically to, now you have to
Register
have a
again.
permit again, once again?
you can read, you can
I just throw it out there, 'cause I mean, you know, as fast as the law can change one way, it can go the other way.
reassess that, you're very well managed.
I mean, I'll still, I can tell you now, I'll continue to get my gun permit because it's the right thing to do, in my
I
opinion.
don't wanna give something back to the town
But that'd be
residents.
helpful. I would agree with the chief, I think it would be helpful if, because like I said, I mean, if people are cheap,
Yeah.
let's face it. So what they're gonna do, they're gonna take and go the easy road out. If I don't have to get one because laws say I don't have to, I'm not gonna bother. And it, you know, and for the police department, I think it's probably a reasonable thing to have a good idea, you know, who's
Okay.
got
Well,
a gun permit, who doesn't,
I don't have a problem.
and for their safety as well.
okay, we're in consensus to eliminate it.
Alright.
Good suggestion. All right,
This is a public meeting, right?
yes.
Okay, because you didn't throw it back up to us for the
Oh,
other
well,
stuff.
I did ask,
Oh, well, I meant for opinions on the gun permit. but-
I did.
Yeah, that's the gun permit. What about the rest of the stuff here?
Oh, yeah, yes, if there's anything else.
Well, I heard the question, the comment about the cars, the cruisers, idling and stuff like that. The question's for the chief. You guys have LED lights on them now?
Yes.
So you really shouldn't have to do a whole lot of idling, because you can, I know the DOT, we run LED lights and we can run a truck just about all day without even, I mean, a regular pickup, without even having to idle.
You can do it on that.
I think so.
They do have units where they'll take, and if you get to a certain point, they'll automatically start the car, run it, and then shut it off again, which is
Okay.
a good thing to have.
Good suggestion.
So it saves gas, saves the vehicle.
But the thing is, comment was, does it get warm in the summertime and cold in the wintertime?
Well, it's just the cruising, there's no officer in there, right?
So noted, I think it's a good suggestion, especially when in good weather, it's why look into it, it would, that's all I would ask.
I don't know if there's anything to look into.
Okay, anything else from the
Peanut gallery, go ahead, say it.
police department? Go ahead.
Peanut gallery is what you're gonna say, right?
No, I didn't say that. From the
I'll
public.
give you Mike.
It's all right. All right, then we're moving on, we're in consensus, John. Okay, town clerk, proposed fee schedules.
So you guys are all talking big bucks and I'm here to plead for $1. I'm gonna pretty much read everything that's on there, and this I'm just giving you so you have reference notes if you think of something later on that you may have missed.
You're gonna read all of this or just cover this?
It's $1. I'm working hard for this dollar, Selectmen law.
Okay.
I just wanted to give you some figures. The state hasn't raised their fees for dog licenses since 1979. If you look at that chart at the top, it gives you a breakdown of what each dog license costs. That they're not all the same price. They're based on whether the dog's neutered or spayed or not. A senior citizen gets a dog at $2 fee. Additional dogs are at the full rate. So there's a variety of fees. And out of most of the licenses issued, out of every license issued, the state gets 50 cents. And that, I believe, is a special, it says a non-lapsing fund to be used exclusively for the operation of the veterinary diagnostic laboratory. So 50 cents of every license goes to that. And $2 of almost every license goes to a pet overpopulation fund. So that's mandated out of every license we issue. We have to send the state that money. We get to keep the rest. The tags, there are material costs, the tags, which we've managed to get a little bit lower rate this year through networking with town clerks. I was given the name of a company that does them even cheaper than the company we used before. There is postage involved for reminder letters. When I order the tags, I no longer order O-rings or S-hooks. Most people don't use them anyway. I have a lot left over, so I'm just gonna use the stock I have. That comes to about, I think $15 for 100 or 800 of those. We have to have special paper. It's perforated paper, because the license comes in two parts. So rather than try to crease the paper on the desk and hopefully tear it in half, we get the perforated paper. It makes that process a little faster. Most of the cost involved in this is labor intensive, and you can review all of this later if you want, but as you know, it is a lot, and eventually, it goes from me and the day-to-day updating and issuing the license, contacting owners of unlicensed dogs. Then we get into you're late with licensing, send a reminder, which involves more postage, and then we have to give you, I have to give you a request to have the police department get involved, and then they get involved. So I think $1 per license is a pretty reasonable request. I don't know that legally we can charge more than that, so I would go for the maximum of $1 at the suggestion of the state.
I have no problem with that, Joe.
I don't.
When does a dog qualify for senior citizen?
The dog never qualifies for senior citizen. The owner, however, has to be 65.
Okay.
And I also wanted to point out that because the dog licensing year runs from May 1st to April 30th, and I had already started issuing licenses for the 2019 year, I would request that these fees not go into effect until the next year, the 2020 year.
So noted.
I would like to leave the senior citizens dog license at $2 if we could not raise it to an additional $1.
I could ask if that's possible. I think it's something that has to be done across the board. I think it would also it might pose a software issue, but I can certainly look into that and get back to you.
Why would that pose a software issue?
I'm not sure, because I'm not a software person.
I wouldn't think that would.
If we keep the senior at $2,
I would like to. They're seeing enough increases every year in this world we live in.
I don't think $1 makes a big difference, myself personally.
we don't do that many of them.
You're not doing, you're talking about one dog, you know?
Unless
We're
if
talking,
we
we
have
did
one.
79 of them last year,
It's,
so
it's
it's not a
already,
huge
it's
amount.
already a 50% discount, more than 50, it's a 70% discount off a basic dog license, so they get a 70% discount from $10 to $3. I think that's pretty good, 70%. I'm lucky to get 10% sometimes if I go to Lowe's, good price, good citizen.
And these
And
prices
deal
are the
with-
same,
deal with
this is
people
my
getting more than
23rd
what
year,
it's
and these
15.
prices haven't changed.
How have we been as far as, getting the people that have been reluctant to register their dogs?
Well, we had
They
agreed
seem
last
system.
year that we would work harder this year, with the time frame, and now that I have an incredibly wonderfully competent deputy, which has been a great help, I've been finally able to update all of the dog licenses, so the e-reminders went out this week, and today we licensed 50 dogs, just that quickly. So, having Hope help out and pick up the slack has really made a difference. So this year we should be timely. I do still have a whole bunch of people from last year that I will have to chase. But
That's my only suggestion is staying with $2 on the seniors.
What's that?
My only suggestion is to stick with $2 on the seniors.
Yeah, I really don't, I don't think $3 is gonna, the dollar change is gonna break anyone. But that's my opinion, I don't think $1's a big deal.
Well, I tend to agree with that, it's just a 70% discount is not
I
bad.
think a lot of times you're gonna find a lot of the seniors have more than one dog. So the first one said discounted, great, and the next one, I think I might be wrong, and you probably know better than I do, but I think a lot of seniors, a lot
many
of
of them
time,
have more than
have
two
more
dogs, they
than
usually
one.
have two. Not all of them, but they tend to have 2 dogs.
What do you think?
And it's costly to own a dog. I mean,
Two against one, I guess it goes the other way.
And we can't agree all the time.
Okay,
That's right.
I think we're good.
We'll
I'm
make that
here for the
effective for
seniors.
next year,
Yeah, in fact, that's as you presented.
okay, across the board then.
Okay, thank you. Chief, I had ambulance scheduled, but I thought that was gonna be in closed public hearing for the ambulance schedule, is that correct?
No.
Point of order, Mr. Chair? Point of order, Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
Yes,
Again, is this a public meeting or not?
it is, no, I was looking at my
Well, no,
agenda.
you talk to the town clerk, then you're moving on to the chief. What about the rest of us here?
Yeah.
I'm
stand
sorry,
corrected.
but I mean,
I stand, point of order, so noted and so accepted.
right.
Any comments on the dog licensing fees? I didn't think it was such a hot issue, but I stand
Well, it's
corrected.
not that it's a hot issue, but I don't know if anybody did the math, but I mean, currently, right now, even at the current rates, the town's been clearing almost $3,000. You know, I mean, that's a sizable amount of money just for registering a dog. So, I mean, if you can give the seniors a break, I'm fine with it, to be honest with you.
You don't think 70% enough for a senior's break?
If they live this long and a dog makes them happy, they could be free for all I care.
Okay. Anything else before I go on to the next gentleman?
I think if they can afford the food for the dog, they can afford $1.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments?
Does the
Okay.
town have to do this, because the state's?
No, this is, the thing is,
All
this-
department suggestions.
yeah, and the thing is, it was asked a year previously if we could review the rates. It was earlier in the year.
I
so-
can't believe the state hasn't raised a fee on something since 1979.
Well, let's not remind.
Must have slipped through the crack or something. That's not the state of New Hampshire.
We feed everybody to death.
Okay. Now, Chief, you're on.
Okay, ambulance fees, it's just the cost of doing business, and Dunbarton has never increased our fees since we started billing about 10 years ago.
John, can I give them, this is, John and I work together with Comstar, who does our billing for us. They gave me a listing of all of their clients in our New Hampshire area. These are the current ones, which we then put on this sheet here. But you can see we're here, and then the average is on the back sheet, so if you wanna
We're at
look
the
at that
bottom.
real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Why is that so?
Well, one reason is we're probably the only volunteer service left standing in the ambulance business, and most of these communities use this income to
That's the
offset
average.
salaries
On the
and
back.
operating
Big
costs.
difference.
Wow, there's a big difference.
Yeah, so as you can see, there's 66 communities here, and Dunbarton's the second to the bottom. The BLS run, which is a basic ambulance run, basically,
Right.
you're doing, nothing but taxi ride. But, currently we charge $480. The, state average, or the 66 town average is $883. So we're suggesting to go to the 600, not go to the top, but a little bit more. ALS run, which is advanced life support, you do IV, might do meds, oxygen, a little bit more. The state average is $1,340, Dunbarton's at 600. So we're proposing to bounce that one up to 800. The ASL 2, which is the full-blown, probably a cardiac arrest call, we do everything. The state average is $1,995, we're at 900. So we're suggesting to bump that up to 1,200. 10 of those towns in that ASL 2 charge over $3,000. 3 of them over 3,500. But, it does average because of people like us bring it down to 1995. Mileage, we're the second lowest mileage out there at $10.
What's at a flat rate, chief?
Mileage? Yeah. No, it's a fee per mile.
That's just what that's per month.
$15
Per
per
month.
mile besides the ambulance charge?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the state average is 1913. Normally, we don't have a run normally over 10 miles.
Okay.
Either
They're fairly close.
either Concord or but some of these services way out, they can rack that up pretty quick.
Yep.
And then that last one, at CST, we're not in that, that's a special, transport ambulance that would transfer people from facility to facility normally, so not everybody does that. But, you know, they have 40 of their customers that do that. Again, you know, way up there, 3,800, 2,900, so we're not in that category. So those are our proposals. Like I said, we've never gone up in our fees, we're really low, but we don't use the money to offset salaries like most towns do. You know, a lot of times these towns, cities are making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in ambulance fees. You
Well,
know,
going with what you said, you suggested today, the way this town is developing, you had the crystal ball, you see us going to maybe an outsourcing commercial ambulance, run to a commercial company maybe. down the
Yeah, or
road.
sign a contract with a neighboring town,
Correct.
or do per diem hiring during the day. I mean, that's what everybody's doing.
When that comes, we'll probably be more in the middle with our rates, I'm
Right.
sure.
You can raise your rates to help offset that cost. But right now, the money goes in our special ambulance fund, and that was originally set to buy a new ambulance. So when we go to buy an ambulance, we don't have to come to the taxpayers for any money.
How is that fund right now?
I think it's got 150, 60
I think
dollars.
you're up to 180 now.
Is it?
Yeah.
Ambulance is now starting at 250,
Okay.
going up. So ambulances normally, the busy towns and cities are getting 3 to 5 years out of their ambulances. You know, like a Concord, you know, they can't get 3 anymore. Average sized towns go 5 to 8 years, and a town our size will go 8 to 12. So we're already at 9 years on our truck, it's 2010. Still in good shape, still low mileage, but, you know, that's gonna have to be replaced in, you know, the near future. But, I think we got 12 or 15 out of our last truck before we bought this one.
Okay,
But anyways, you know, it's just, unfortunately, it's part of doing business, and, you know, the majority of this money is insurance money, comes from the insurance company, the insurance carrier. And, you know, Medicare keeps lowering their rates, what they pay. And what we do in Dunbarton is, a lot of towns and cities go to collection. They'll send the number of bills out, and if they don't pay, you go to collection. In Dunbarton, they notify us after we've got a agreement with them, they send 3 bills out. If they don't get payment after 3, or sometimes they'll set up a payment plan, and you can pay $10, $20 a month, whatever you make it, whatever they do with those, and that's the way we do it. If it's a town resident, and I look at the bill, you know, they've been a long time town resident, you know that they're on hard times, we won't go after those people. They get 3 bills, but what we're finding is a lot of the elderly people, they pay their bills. You know, they wanna pay that bill, you know, they'll set up a payment plan or pay whatever they can, but
Well, I think
we don't go to collection,
I think keeping your rates where they are, I mean,
which helps,
helps the senior, that's where the senior citizen gets their real value here.
yeah. So, you know, it is an increase, but, you know, the cost of doing business costs more, it costs us more for our medical supplies, you know, unfortunately. So I don't think it's outrageous, if you look at these, what other towns are
No,
charging.
it's- If anyone wants to, I mean, he's absolutely spot on, I mean, we're talking about where he's going $800, $1,200, we're talking about $2,000, $3,000, so chief, the proposals are well, very low ball.
Yeah,
Open to the public now, any comments on these rates?
Find it totally realistic.
Okay, thank you, anyone else?
I think it's about damn time.
But I think is, this is, again, this is where the value for the dollar is really, it's really a good service, thank you. Okay, gentlemen, back to any, I think we're all good.
Yep, I think so.
Okay, as proposed, okay.
The last page is just for information.
Yep. Then, I'd like to make a motion, we accept these as proposed with the changes we made on the link.
Second,
Third,
Any further discussion?
aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, for the department heads who made the changes, thank you. I thought they were, all the changes and recommendations were great, thank you very much, appreciate it. Okay, chief?
When will the rates be effective?
Well, some of them are, as stipulated, like for dog licenses, 2020. And, there's no reason why we can't put an effective date on it. I didn't put a date on it, Chipman.
I would think all the rest of the fees would be effective immediately.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't see a problem. Okay.
Chief, you're okay with that?
Okay? It's just
Anybody
about
else,
our
you're okay
buildings.
with the fee being effective immediately?
What are your,
I'd like to, if I can just give mine a little bit of time so we can get some notice out.
maybe,
Get some flyers made up and,
okay,
you know, maybe
Give me a
for us
target
to
date.
like June first.
June first is fine, consent.
Then I can get it on my sign.
Okay,
Can we do it effective for everybody the same, so I'm not,
So it's not stagnant?
no, hang on.
Yeah. I think the only one that's a concern is the fact that the dogs are licensed for this year
already in the
already, so
process yet?
there's no sense changing that.
Chief has concern on it.
Yeah, we don't have to really notify anybody about the changes, so we can affect that changes.
Okay.
right away.
Alright, so really, what I'm talking about, I'll just go, the building department can be immediately, transfer station June first, police department, immediately, town clerk, 2020 as discussed, ambulance fee, immediately,
Yeah, we have to notify them of the changes and stuff, so it's gonna be, yeah,
June,
probably first of the month will they get it processed, or might be later.
okay? Alright, for members of the public who arrived here, thank you for your input, and, departments, like I said, thank you. We're all set, moving on. Come on up. Okay, we're gonna discuss, Ken Kerber's gonna discuss some conservation easements with us.
I think Lane gave you a copy of, little background information. And I know these two, I don't know, Dave, do you know that, Susan and I, having the property just north of the school property, we were impressed with Judy and Jim and Finch did with their property in terms of trying to maintain the nature of the town agriculture, that sort. So we're working towards the same type of easement on our property.
Yeah.
And looking down the road, very likely my sister who bought Les's property just north of ours,
Yeah.
which is the same thing. And that'll give you something like, maybe 600-700 or more acres as concentrated. The Five Rivers, who has the easement on the Stone Place and is working with us, they typically go in for an L-chip grant, and the requirement for that is they have public access. And the Allison who's handling this in particular is concerned that because we don't have much front footage, we don't have any footage on Guinea Road, that she'd like to be able to state to the L-chip people in her proposal, if you will, that there's a dedicated access of one sort or another.
Yeah.
And she loves the whole property, and she's looked at the whole thing. It looks like that if it works out, a little kiosk and a little parking area at the bottom of the school parking lot would be fantastic. And now the question is, can that be formalized in some way or informalized so that she has somebody to work with when she goes to the.
Yeah, I read through her whole proposal, cause it was sent to us by email. Lean was nice enough to send it out. I think I talked with Margaret a little bit about it as well.
Oh, good, yeah.
And, I'm very familiar with the property, cause I've walked through from Granny Road all the way up through several times. The old roadway that comes up through the back of your property, so
Yep.
very familiar with the land.
Good.
We have another person coming to us tonight. I guess a long time ago, there was a parcel cut off the back that your property did once go down to Guinea Road.
Right,
And parcel was cut off there, there's somebody coming to us to try and build on that parcel on the class 6 road down there.
was this the,
Crooker,
Croker?
Yes.
Yeah.
yep, 1974, somebody.
Oh,
The thing is,
that, just parenthetically, there's still a, difference between the two deeds as to where that boundary is between the two properties, and,
Yeah, I noticed in some of the previous board meetings, they said to actually speak with you about where that boundary was, cause there was some question in the subdivision regulations as to where that border was.
yeah. And I've had a request into Jacques Belanger for 2 years now, year and a half, to see if he could do something for me, and
Did you know that they had their property surveyed last year and recorded? I don't know if that.
it's a very long story, I don't wanna tie up the
Oh,
board,
okay.
but,
I think you're the last thing on the agenda.
I'm generally,
no, it's, road agent.
Yeah.
yeah, in situations like that, I'm used to, the owner of the other property and just, saying this is what the problem is, we wanna get together and resolve it, et cetera. And here's, what do you think, here's the process working together. Instead, I got the kind of a over the transom call from their surveyor saying, here's what we're gonna do, just sign here. And I would have almost gone along with it, except I asked a couple of questions and I got that kind of a shifty-eyed response. And then I asked a few more questions and things got more and more vague. And I thought, well, I really ought to look into this. You know, I said, well, if you lay it out for our boundary, where does that come? Probably over here somewhere. Well, this guy is a surveyor, he could have told me exactly where it was. And the fact that he didn't, it says something. And then talking with Jacques said, depending upon how the deeds were written, the boundary, there may be no ambiguity at all, maybe the boundary in our deed is the one that prevails, which is a question I asked Jacques, which I haven't gotten an answer on. So anyway, I didn't sign, and that's where things are right
Getting
now.
back to conservation easement, I understand that you need to have access to it, and it's, the access being proposed as a school parking lot.
Right.
The problem I see is that the school board's gonna chime in here, and there's also a problem that you're gonna increase traffic behind the school, there's a potential for traffic behind the school, and strangers coming to our school and parking there, and people who aren't town residents parking there, and it might create a little bit of a security concern on
Which is
parents.
why
Yeah, that, I see that as a long pole, I mean, as a stumbling block.
I did send a copy of this to Deb Trotter, I haven't heard
And
back from her.
so did I, and she responded tonight saying that she hadn't seen her emails until today, so she was not gonna be able to make it for tonight.
But what I would recommend is get on the agenda for the next school board meeting
Yeah.
concerning this, because it's gonna, they have to be, we have to be hand in hand on this.
Okay,
And, because we could, it's not our jurisdiction, that parking lot per se, that's school property.
well, that's why,
That's town property, that is our jurisdiction.
Yes, but the thing is, during the school, they have people, strangers.
Yeah, the school board can come back and give us a recommendation.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
But it is our jurisdiction.
because I talked with Deb Foster, because she, her years before, she said that they had jurisdiction inside the school.
That's right.
Anything outside the school was your jurisdiction. That's why-
Right, but the thing is, I'm not gonna,
Yeah,
no, it's hard to make a judgment without input from the school
Oh,
board.
yeah, I have no problem with that, no problem.
Yeah, I think, in fact, if you read that email, it said that they approached members in the school, some teachers, and maybe not Deb Trotter, but they were trying to get some input from the school people on
Yeah,
that email.
Well,
absolutely.
historically, when Bill Zeller was principal,
Right.
he made a lot of use of that, going the other direction.
I used to walk
probably.
them trails, I'm sure Brian probably did as well.
Yeah.
All down through, there was nature trails down through the big
Yeah, in
boulders.
fact,
one.
I think that's a big loss, because you can still see the original box with the map, and you can see some of the empty markers on the trees.
Yeah,
They used to have a nice little nature trail in
it
there.
was a nice trail.
And then Bill built off of that with a cross-country running trail that went down that same road that you walked up, beginning road and around to the thing. And then after he retired, he turned it into a cross-country ski, and he's got blazes along there, he's got a couple of loops that go around. So it's already being used that way.
Yeah.
And I don't know how well it's known, and I don't know how much it's advertised outside the town for people to park down
But
there.
once it gets into this easement, it'll be advertised more.
Oh, yeah.
It'll draw more people in. And I know parking has always been an issue at the school, and so, I hear you loud and clear, it sounds great, but the thing is, the logistics really have to be looked at.
Yeah, and so I'll do that. But
Okay.
I was down there like Wednesday, I think, a few weeks back, when school was in session. And it's parked up on top, but down the lot, there's about 6 cars sitting down there, so it's not a big issue with the school during the day, but if you have a function, that's a separate thing at night.
Right, but then again, you get two parts of the day, which is, it's crazy down there. And the thing is, it's called drop off and pick up.
Yeah.
You also gotta use that parking lot down there, during the day when they can't let the kids go out on the field. They play down in that parking lot, the playground.
So it's an issue, I think it's worth, but the thing is, I would talk with the school first,
Okay.
and then we'll be in communication with them too. Dave?
Ken, my thoughts are, I think it's a good idea for access, and I understand what you're trying to do with your parcel, and I really like the idea of protecting that property. I've used it before, it's a great piece of property. And I think if we look at that, maybe we could even provide some additional parking down below where that currently is now. Maybe 5 or 6 spaces without a lot of work, just a dirt parking area where they could utilize that additional area there, so. I think there are some things we can look at, and I think after hearing back from the school board, I don't think it's I think it's a,
Yeah, I think they meet end of the month, don't they?
I thought it was like the middle, but I'm not sure. I thought
I
it
mean,
was
I
like
think
second Tuesday or second Wednesday or something like that of the month.
it seemed it was coming up pretty soon, yeah.
Could be, first maybe. Wednesday.
I'd
So
seek that out,
I'll-
please.
And the other point I wanna come across is, when you look at all the conservation areas that we have, and you look at the parking areas for them, other than a few walks a year, they're used very, very low.
Right.
Maybe a hike or a hunter, or, you know, one or two cars, it's very, very minimal. And we have a lot of conservation area, and there's just not a lot of parking out of it that I see. You know, there's some when we do the scheduled walks and whatnot, where they,
Yep.
could be, you know, 10 or 12 cars, but other than those, I don't, and most of those are on the weekend and off hours,
Right.
so.
Yeah, the people that hunt our property, if they contact me, I let them just go down, cross the pond, park up on the ridge.
Yeah,
Makes it easy walking for them.
yeah, so,
I think that from a, defined access viewpoint, that's what Allison was trying to figure out, how could you get something that would look good on paper, that's all.
Right.
So, okay, I'll work with Deb and get on the school board,
Please.
and then see how that goes.
And then we'll communicate with the school board.
Yeah.
And if he's getting the pros and cons from the school, you know, what works and what might not work, or whatever, so that we can make some type of decision.
Ken, if you have CC us, I'll try and make the school board meeting, and these guys, you know, may wanna do the same thing,
Pretty great, yeah.
and we can.
I'm trying to get it, stay within Allison's window for doing her
Right.
proposals.
What is
It's
that
time
window?
sensitive, yeah, how time sensitive is it?
I think that was in that cover letter,
The
she said
email?
that,
Oh, sooner than later, April 22nd. That was the board was presented, that was passed, so it
Yeah.
was presented already.
No, that wasn't the.
I think it's the end of May is when the
Yeah.
proposal was due. I think her L-chip, I think that somewhere at the beginning, she said the L-chip proposal was due, end of May, and so there were room for 2
Yeah, I remember reading it too, Ken,
school board meetings.
cause she said she'd have time to meet the school board, so.
Okay,
Yeah, anyway,
okay, thanks for giving us a heads up in the background on it.
now you really piqued my curiosity about the Croker property. I hadn't heard anything about
You
it.
stick around, we're gonna talk about it next.
I'll stick around.
Ken, had they ever approached you just out of curiosity about selling that property or not?
When I moved here and saw the relationship with properties, I said in the letter saying if they ever intended to sell, would they let me know, or I'd be interested, that sort. I've never heard anything from
And that was
them.
probably a different homeowner at that point, right?
No,
Same
same one,
person?
that's
Same
the
one,
same
they've had
person
it ever since I moved here.
Since
since 1974.
Yeah. And they've never communicated with me, never talked to me, so I think it's strictly, I wouldn't recognize them if I saw them.
Okay.
We're gonna talk about that next, so,
Yeah, I'll just
Stick
go
around.
back.
okay. All right, let's talk about that now. We had a homework this week, packs were presented by Lean, and, we had an opportunity to go out and see the property, and I had an opportunity to actually traverse the property with the road agent today.
I went out to the property as well.
And, Jeff, I'm gonna summarize a little bit, and I want you to stop me if I make an error.
Can we just start with, the Crookers have approached the building department to get a building permit off of a class 6 road. And this is the history that they'll talk
Right.
about.
Well, there was a subdivision years ago, Lean, I'm gonna ask you, it's called the Lyman subdivision. And that was along Guinea Road, an unapproved part of a class 6 road. And it was stipulated that they bring it up to standard to a class 5 road prior to any building permits being issued.
Are they, were the Crookers notified of this meeting, are they originally not here?
This was brought before the selectmen because the building department didn't know how to proceed with issuing
That's all
the
we,
building permit.
that's all we're doing.
And you had asked her to provide some information, and she did so on the subdivisions leading up to the first house that's currently on Guinea Road. But the research was still there to find out when this Crooker property actually came into effect, whether it was pre-zoning or post-zoning, so.
Well, as I said, the Lyman subdivision was approved with conditions that the road be improved prior to any building permits. What had gone on since that approval, a portion of Guinea Road, that unimproved portion was maintained by the town, from road agent to road agent to road agent. However, it's not, it cannot be a road by prescription because it was maintained after 1968. But the town has maintained it up to the Galvin House. that's on the road. So that stipulation that the road be improved to a point, before the linemen proceed with any homes. Now the issue is, this home is over, it looks like over 1,000 feet away from any class 5 road. And they have to be at least 300 feet from any class 5 road to build upon. Therefore,
Per the previous select board's agreements on class 6 building on town roads.
correct. And that was, we have a policy that was created. You have a date on that?
Yeah,
there's
it's
no
signed.
problem.
2001.
You got it there, Brendan?
Yeah, August 2001, second day of August. Signed by Russ Hammond, John Parsons, Lahurst, and Charles Ridley.
So, according to that policy, there are mechanisms where they can appeal to the town for an exception to build in that property. And the procedure goes, help me if I'm wrong, they have to go to the planning board first.
They go to the planning board for recommendations first, the planning board then brings their recommendations of how they'd like that road upgraded to the select board. The select board has the final say on the road. And then if it's denied altogether, then they can appeal it to the ZBA. So they can only go to the zoning board of adjustments once it's denied. They have to go to the planning board to get recommendations back to the select board to make a decision on the road. But it looks like from all of the subdivisions that are on the road from the previous subdivisions that most of that road was supposed to be upgraded to a class 5 standard of some sort. It looks like it varies between 24 feet and 30 feet on the different subdivisions, so. I would think that the planning board is gonna require some of the more stringent class 5 upgrades that we've been seeing on these roads for the distance.
And it almost follows, like, we had an exercise earlier this year when we determined some requirements for Everett Road, where we made some determinations of what the minimum requirements would be, and there, as you would say, it's quite minimal for this town to bring up a road where it would be acceptable. And it has to include things like fire chief's gotta chime in for bringing safety vehicles down there, et cetera.
So what I think we should do at this point is make sure that the Crookers have a copy of this select board policy and procedures regarding erections of buildings on class 6 highways.
To have it work through the planning and zoning department.
So, yeah, make sure she has a copy of it and this gets provided to them and mailed out to them.
And if they wanna discuss it, they should probably
Meet
talk
with
to
the
the planning board
next.
to get on the agenda next.
Because this clearly spells out their, schedule to build to.
They're right to appeal to the town for an exception. Jeff, how did I do?
Well,
Jeff gave me
we did a
basically
ride by on the property. I believe this is what you were talking about, this piece, Ken's piece,
Yes.
Mhm.
years ago,
Yeah,
in
it's kind of,
1974.
I happened to,
Yeah.
at Les's funeral, ran into
Yeah.
the Bartletts, who lived there in 1940,
Yeah,
and he
Oh,
said at
wow.
that time it was 200 acres.
yeah, so that's how that thing
Wow.
derived, at some point somebody decided to do that.
And it was the Clark apparently who sold it, first Clark to the second Clark, and he reserved a section for Croker, who he knew, who up and worked for him, there was some association. But why the boundary is different on the two, you split
Yeah.
this off, that was remaining, I have no idea, but that's roughly the history of it.
the problems they're gonna face is they look like they're the last, there's a building lot there at the end rather than in the
Yeah.
front.
Right,
And that there's a long road that needs to be upgraded,
oh, yeah,
and that's the challenge they're gonna have. And even as, we talked about it, talking with Everett Road, I thought, we came with it was interesting. There are 3 lots of record, and they said in the event the lot development is staggered, as this may be the case, the roadway must be constructed to reach said lot as a minimum along the road frontage. So in other words, if the last lot is the first one to be developed, the entire roadway needs to be developed, and so they got a challenge. And so they should maybe pick the first lot and go with the first lot, but that's that's to the product, to the individual's gonna make.
Oh, you're saying the Croker property has three subdivisions?
No.
No, but if you look at it, there's all these subdivision here which has been approved,
Right,
they're all vacant.
right,
They're way out here,
right.
which is a significant difference of about 1,000 to 1,200 feet.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So that road this entire road's gotta be brought to a certain standard acceptable to the planning board and then approved by us eventually.
Right.
If it's gonna be approved.
Yeah.
So that's the challenge that they have.
Yeah.
And the standards will be proposed by the planning board and then sent to us. Okay. Any further
It was kinda unclear in 1974, exactly what the people that were in charge at that time had in mind.
Yeah, it didn't spell
Is
it out
it?
very clear enough.
It was a little loose, and then in 1980, when, I'm gonna call it the Gavin property now, when that was Whitney's on that, they subdivided that into 2 lots. And that had a little caveat to that as well. I don't know if any of that stuff ever got done for those specifications or not, it doesn't really look like it. When driving out there, and then it's what it is today. We've been wrangling over this with other parts of town, like you said, Everett Road and everything else, and I had never read this policy, and shame on me for not reading it, I should have. It was before I was road agent, and I really didn't know it actually existed. I heard talk about it, but I never took the time to dig it out and read it.
Jeff, on one of these subdivisions, you were the one that gave the suggestions on the.
Yeah, it's in the Lyman subdivision, I was in the audience, and I said, we ought to be consistent.
You weren't road agent at that time?
No, I wasn't, that was 1994, I was sitting over here, and
All right.
I realized there was a void way back then.
Yeah, I guess so.
And tried to put my 2 cents worth to get it corrected then, and didn't get. Well, anyway, where I'm going with this is, if you read through this policy, I think it's pretty clear. Get to item 14, any other relevant factors. And then item C, it pretty much says what they gotta do.
Yep. Exactly.
It says to class,
Is that scenic road?
yes, it is.
Oh, you just seen it?
You said there's a distance to a class 5 road on a class 6 road they get built on?
To build on the policy, you gotta be within 300 feet of the
Of a class 5 road?
class 5 road.
No one's ever been enforcing that.
Well, that's,
Look the end of Rangeway Road, take a
In
look.
2001,
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
in 2001, they.
oh, no, every
enforced
time,
this.
the upper part is class 5, the lower part is class 6, and every one of those had to come before the selectmen get approval.
Well, somebody can't build them because they're not 300, they're
No.
not 300 feet
I
from a
think
class
it did-
5
This
road.
policy came after that.
After
It came
that.
after,
This is when
After
Chuck Grable was.
Some of them,
yeah.
I think.
All of
Okay.
them.
2001, you said?
Jeff,
Yeah.
I'd recommend that the items let's go to the planning board, bring this as a discussion, as a starting point to the planning board, and any other ideas you may have. Okay, any further discussion on this? I'm gonna open up to the public if anyone wants to make a comment on this, but this has been a challenge for us because we had to go back in history many years to try to peel back the layers of the onion and see what really happened. It's a challenge, to say the least.
Do have a question, Bill.
I'm sorry?
Do have a question.
Sure.
I have to say, I haven't read the policy in a long time, so that being said, someone kind of threw me off is that they have to go to the planning board makes recommendations to select board, and if they want to appeal it, they go to the ZBA.
No, how it works is, they send to the planning board first, the planning board comes to the select board with a recommendation on road size, shoulders,
Right.
width, scenic road, non-scenic.
Mhm.
All that comes as the applicant pays the fees for the planning board to go through the process.
Mhm.
Then the planning board brings that suggestion to the select board to make the final decision on the road.
Mhm.
And then, if it gets denied at that point,
Right,
so, in other words, we can give them approval to
Mhm.
build with conditions, and the conditions would be the road upgrades most
Mhm.
likely. Because it is 300 feet past, and that's been the town's policy. It was good that the town put that policy in writing, because without that being in
No.
writing, the entire
I
road.
think you
could
missed
be
my
built.
point. My point is that you get to the select board, and the select board says, no, we're not gonna let you.
that.
And they want to appeal that decision.
They have to go to the zoning board of adjustments.
So, how does the zoning board of adjustments as a land use board overrule the select board who have the ultimate authority on roads and such? and
It's
the
the
building?
only, it's their only access to go before they go to court. So they go there, the zoning board can either accept it or deny it, or do
Right.
what they wanna do. Most cases I found that the zoning board follows through the other town departments and
Mhm.
you know, backs them up.
Yep.
Not to say that they will, but that's what I've seen in the past, and then that people go to court if they're not satisfied at that point. But it's one of them things, if they don't go through the steps, you can't just run to court.
Oh, no, I understand, but it just didn't make sense to me that how a zoning board would be able to take in.
That was Mike, when I read the policy, I thought the same thing too. But the thing is, you have to read it twice to really understand that.
It's been a
And
long
the thing is, it's a challenging policy.
And
I
see-
will say that this policy was written up directly as the state RSA is,
Mhm.
and it was very well written. I think that the town attorney must have reviewed this because
I'm sure they
it
do.
wasn't a typical selectman
No.
seat of the pants writing it up. It was written up,
No,
with
you had to
all of
read
the
it twice.
steps,
Yeah,
follow the RSA very well, so.
it's not on our website, in the
Better
policy
reason for
section,
it.
is it?
No, but I could put it
We
as
can
well.
put it up there.
Threatening a lawsuit.
Okay,
Is that what people have questions?
I'm gonna close this, any further comments on this? If not, I'll close the discussion on this. Thank you for coming in, and thank you for the scenic tour today.
No problem.
Well, the thing is, one thing to see it, to talk about it, and the thing is, it's more important to go out and see it sometimes. And the thing is, I'm a firm believer that, you know, I'm a site person, you gotta see this stuff to really appreciate it.
What's the date of your road meeting?
Next week.
There's a lot of upgrading.
You wanna announce that for the camera? That next week, the road agent will be having a public hearing regarding road improvements for the town of Dunbarton.
Yeah, it's the second, I believe, is that the date? May 2nd.
Look forward to
You're
seeing you,
gonna
Jeff.
continue road, right?
Yeah.
I'll be able to-
Okay, continuing on.
Not that end. Maybe the
I'm gonna go, to open the public comment now. Chief, anything for public comment? Chief, what about you?
You gonna talk about the fire station roof?
Oh,
Yeah, since you're here.
thank you, Joe.
We had a pretty severe leak there Monday night, so
Um,
I don't know what the
At the
plan
juncture,
is,
is
but,
that the juncture?
yeah.
Okay.
Hasn't leaked for a while, but Monday night it was really pouring in.
Did you put the jackets on and the helmet?
Yeah, it's loud.
Okay.
But,
In all seriousness though, I heard before, I understand that if we heat the roof, there's gonna be a problem, you know, actually insulate it so we can heat the building and increase the snow load. And that potentially, as that building was never designed for a snow load, so there's an issue about insulation. Then I understand there's a leak between the juncture. And what we need to do is I need you to delineate exactly what you would propose, so we can get someone in here to look at that. Because we've had roofers come in, they wanna just do something, but I don't think we're communicating well with what we wanna put out for a job description.
yeah.
John, can
I mean,
you,
I'm not a roofer, that's not my profession.
Understood.
But
But you can
You know,
describe the thing is, we were just, I was just thinking out loud that,
there's gotta be some company that can stop the leak where two roofs meet.
okay,
I mean,
understood.
It's not rocket science.
Flex seal, that flex seal.
Yeah, something.
So,
I'm
so,
running metal out.
Hang on,
And on the overall roof condition,
yeah,
I mean, I think the overall roof of the buildings are okay, personally.
all right,
The winter problem we have in the winter time is, and we didn't have it this winter because it was just the type of winter we had.
yeah,
We never had that heavy snow and then the melt, you know, we had rain and
we
whatever.
didn't have the ice build.
Right, makes the big ice curve and then that backs up. and
Which
that
luckily
leaks in.
saved our new sign.
Right. And one of the side guys said to me, you know, said, maybe if you extended the eaves on the roof, it would eliminate the problem. You know,
The leaking?
and then give it more overhang.
The leaking or the curve?
Yeah, but it would eliminate that ice from curving and then cut, you know, actually hitting the building, plus leaking. Again, I'm not an engineer, that was a suggestion on the roof. Personally, I don't think the roof needs to be completely torn off, insulated and repaired. What needs to be done as soon as possible is that leak.
Yep.
Where these two roofs, the buildings come together. You know, that's the issue,
okay,
right there. So somebody
all right, that's,
should be able to repair that.
now,
Okay.
this first round, when I was attempting to get that fixed, I contacted at least 3 roofing companies. One was a rubber roof company, and they said they only do flat roofs, and he was out of the
All right.
picture. I called a metal company, and then I called, I think a second metal company, and they met with me out there, and their first opinion of just walking through the building was the fact that there's no insulation in the main building where the vehicles are, And the problem with the ice damage that will never go away is because that section needed to be insulated. And then it was brought to my attention that because it wasn't insulated, it's because the snow load, the roof isn't designed for the
Right.
snow load, so it needs to lose heat to melt the snow to get it off the roof. So it's
But
Yeah,
he's right, but he's right,
Yeah, I can't
all we
get there.
wanna do is fix the leak.
Fix
Leak
that.
the
Where they
building.
come together.
Yeah,
So somebody ought to be able to do that, and I think we're gonna have to get up there and look at the scope of work a little bit better.
You got it.
What do you got, John, that can get us up to the top of that roof?
Fill that truck, right?
Move us out over that roof?
That's about it.
Got that big
Well, not
slope
that bad
around
on
it.
the backside where they,
So
where the two
so
buildings
how
come
about
together.
the antenna problem?
yeah, the thing is, how's the antenna complicate this?
Have you moved
Actually, I
it?
don't think it does.
Okay,
After we got talking that time,
yeah,
the bracket that, which I thought was on the roof, is not on the roof.
okay,
It's below the roof,
It's in the
just
building.
below the roof. But, you know,
all right.
ice can still build up on there. So I originally thought the bracket was higher up, and was holding that snow down. It does hold some snow down, but that bracket is below
All right.
the edge of the roof.
Then we gotta get some contractors out here you gotta be available.
Yeah.
So when we get the time together with Lean,
Yeah.
to get the contractors out there, I think another few contractors out there, just the few we had, I don't think are enough.
No, somebody is gonna be able to fix that.
I agree with you.
The problem is wrecking the sheetrock. The sheetrock really got soft Monday night, and there's electrical panel up there, so.
Lee and I have a guy, I think that you,
It's a county,
Okay,
it's a
cause I
hazard as
have
long as.
met with.
you gotta
Wanna
call
be in
him,
a
he's small enough to do it, not big enough to wanna redo the whole thing.
Okay, all right.
Handyman.
Yeah.
No,
No,
Okay.
I think-
No, even if they put metal all the way up to the other roof, I mean, there's gotta be something in that valley
Yeah.
okay.
that's leaking and you can fix it. I mean,
All right.
it's- like I said, it's
Well,
not.
it may have to be torn apart right there.
Yeah, there's some technology out there.
well, some slate.
Yeah.
I got a few pieces for you that fell off, I'll take care of it. Okay,
Chief, to answer your question, that is on our agenda
Okay.
this year, as part of our money, one of our major fixes.
But like I said, all winter, it was good, just because of the type of winter we had, and this
Yeah,
is the
but-
first time really
Yeah.
I've seen it.
You're saying the
This
sooner the
spring.
better,
I promise you, we tackle it this year, we're gonna do it this year,
November,
Good.
okay.
November.
Dave, anything?
Be too late.
Don't trust us.
The only other thing that involves the
I
chief,
got a quick question for you.
Got one question for you?
chief, we're looking at doing some maintenance in the building next door. And, the maintenance we're talking about is, electrical for the second floor, and maybe a sprinkler for that second floor. And trying looking at maybe getting that building to be used for smaller function, as we kinda talked about in the past. And, so as part of our building maintenance, we'd like to try and work on some things on that second floor, so that it, if ever becomes usable, you know, you're not starting from ground one up there. And we talked about sprinkler systems, electrical systems, taking a look at the electrical panels in that building and looking at that end of that building over there. And what we would, I went to the, town hall committee, for the building for the outside there the other night. And what they could use some help on, John Stevens is doing some drawings. They're making a very small, they're trying to make a very small entryway on the back side of the building here. Much smaller than the other one that was proposed, just to, have a lulu to go up to the second floor with the appropriate stairway in there. And, so what they were looking at is the distances between the exits and emergency exits, and if that second floor could be used for, functions of like 50 people and under, like we've talked before. So maybe they could, lean on you for some of the code help on that.
Yeah, well, I talked to McDermott, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Down here, he had called me about it, and, you know, I told him, to use it for anything, you have 2 means of egress.
Yeah.
50 and under, you don't have to sprinkle. Once you go to a place of assembly, 50 more people, then you're gonna have to obviously sprinkle it. And sprinkler system is gonna be extremely expensive, there's no way around it. The only good thing is you got water.
Right.
They're gonna tap into that cistern, they got 20,000 gallon cistern sitting there they can use for their water.
Mhm.
So that's, you know, one plus, but you're talking pump, the whole system, you're
Yeah.
talking a lot of money, 100,000. But if you can come up with some kind of a second means of egress, that's what's holding you up right now if you're using it for less than 50 people. So if somebody can get creative do a second means of egress somehow.
Well, I understand the,
Close exterior stairway,
Right.
That's what we were thinking of, possibly looking at that in, you know, beefing up whatever we need to beef up and covering that or doing whatever we need to do for the next 3 to 5 years until they get their project underway and can get funding from the town for their project.
yeah, you'd have to get somebody to come in and inspect what you got there now,
Okay,
you know, the existing, that doesn't mean any kind of new code. What they
right.
have there, that open fire escape, you know, that was old technology, you know, the codes have all changed, but, not saying that, you know, something's gonna be done with that,
Right.
brought up the code, but, you know, you'd have to get a engineer to come in and engineer, I can't tell you what the code, what you could do to upgrade that. Those stairs, but if you could do, you'll go around, I look at some old buildings I drive around, they do build exterior closed stairways in the back of their buildings, for that second means of egress.
And when you
And-
use it for 50 people and under, does not, they do not have to have the handicap access to that second floor, how's that work?
I'm not an ADA guy, you'd have to ask somebody else.
Check that.
Different department.
Yeah, that's, I'm not sure on that part of it, on access for handicap.
Well, we'll follow up on all those parts, we're just trying to get as much information as we can to decide what parts of the building that we're willing to work with on the
Yeah.
maintenance line.
Because
Some
we
of
know-
that ADA stuff is minimal, as just a lift, I mean, a stair lift, you know.
Yeah.
Hate to ruin the staircase in that building, but, you know, there are some type of applications out there where you can put a lift, you know, a stair lift or something.
Now, somebody was saying in that meeting, some towns, because of the age of their building and how they've been assembled, that they've been allowed to use those buildings for meetings and such because the buildings age. It's a historical functioning room.
Being a historical building does give you a lot of code exceptions, but the two means of egress,
Would be one of them.
nobody's gonna waive that. Trouble's gotta go through the fire
It
marshal's
might be
office.
with the sprinklers or something other than that,
Yeah,
okay.
like that enclosed, that staircase, in today's code, to use that upstairs to place somebody, that'd have to be an enclosed
Yep.
staircase. With smoke evacuation in it, there was a fire alarm goes off, it'd vac smoke out of those stairways, you wouldn't be allowed to have an open staircase like that in a place of assembly.
Well, it doesn't hold smoke.
So, the nice thing is, by, you know, sprinkling, you get around a lot of the codes, like, you'd be able to leave that nice big open staircase, so you don't
Right.
wanna
with the sprinkler.
disturb. Yeah, you wouldn't have to do a lot of things, it buys you a lot of things you wouldn't have to do. But, you know, it's the cost.
So, from what you're saying though, if you had sprinklers, you could go over 50 people, so it almost sounds like a no-brainer to me.
Yes, but the cost.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, you spend 10 or 15 to Band-Aid something for 50 people, what we got in this room right now, you know, and this is,
But the
this
water
is a
source,
meeting.
the water source is a huge plus,
Yeah,
so that's good
yeah.
to know.
And, you know, that plan that they have, the restoration committee has, you know, the whole sprinkler system's in there, pump and what they needed, pipe and, you know, they tapping into that tank, they checked all that out, checked the tank,
That's the original
inspected the tank, yeah.
Yeah, but we
That's where
won't
they're
want
gonna
it-
get their water.
That's at this cost, not at this cost.
Yeah, but was, you know, the access on elevator and all that stuff, that's what, you know, was big cost too, obviously. I mean, sprinkler system's not cheap, you know, it's gonna be $250,000.
And we're actually just looking at the maintenance part, you know, what would protect the building also, even if they had nothing going on there, you know. it's
For example,
just-
simple as changing out the electrical panels, which are dated.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you should start, I mean, you, like
Go
you said, you
upstairs,
just
there's
start
no
doing
lights.
something. There's no lights, there's no
You
electricity.
can't even walk up there, you know,
Yeah,
just
after-
can look at there
After
and
the
check the
ceiling came
building.
down. all they
If there was
did
an
throw some
emergency and your
shit-
fire department went up there, no lights
There's
up
no
there, you
lights,
don't
yeah.
have to bring lights and,
The only, you know, it does have detection,
Yeah, fire
so
department.
yeah,
that's
Yeah,
a plus.
prepared.
It's got smoke
We didn't have
detection.
the ceiling in the way.
nobody
Does
can
it?
hear
The light
You
way
can't
up
see.
top.
Can't see.
Okay, anything else?
No, that's all I had.
Bob, to you?
No, I'm all set.
Okay, I'll go to the town administrator.
I'm all set for now.
I can't vote the rest of us.
Say again?
You stopped at him.
No, I went by everybody.
I didn't hear you call my name.
Okay.
I've been watching, I've been listening.
Mr. Barnpike, if you have anything for the group.
Actually, I do have two things.
Thank you.
Something earlier you said about with the audit and such like that, that the town treasurer is still using QuickBooks? I could have sworn the select board took and established that they're supposed to be on the same,
Oh, we process it through the BMSI program, but she
BMSI.
still reconciles her own books. So we have two sets, which is very
I think
time
that was the whole
consuming.
point of only having one set of books, so.
But she's an
Yes,
elected official and we
Yeah.
can't force her
No,
to.
actually, I believe the town attorney said that he could,
You know,
because the selectmen can just dictate everybody's on the same system financially. Cause you have, that's their jurisdiction, so, that's why the board voted to do that way back when. Anyway.
I'll have to look at those minutes, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Second thing is, it just came up, is, I've heard the term maintenance kicked around for adding sprinklers and other things. Maintenance usually entails maintaining what you currently have, replacing a broken window, putting some paint on it, whatever the case may be. Anything above and beyond is a capital improvement, and probably should be treated as such.
That's why we're scoping the project back to those projects which we look at maintenance, i.e. electrical panel. Even in this building, electrical panels are rusted and they need to be identified
absolutely.
as being replaced.
Exactly,
That's
that's
when
the
I,
maintenance. But I mean, now if you go and put all lights in upstairs and put in new,
well, the
junction
thing is,
boxes and all stuff, that's not maintenance, that's a capital improvement,
yes,
because it
but
doesn't already
at
have
the
it.
same time, I'm gonna challenge you there. There were lights there before, now we have no lights. And so the thing is, we're replacing lights, lights were pulled and never replaced. Just so we can,
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta
Oh, I
understand
understand,
the
I just,
flashlight.
but you get to, when you
No, I
start going
think
down that
it's-
road,
it's
it's
a-
a slippery slope.
It's a fine line, I agree with that. And, but the thing is, we are looking at, general improvements to the building. And one of the things we looked at, which is, I'll say it's on the border, is the sprinkler system. It's not fire suppression, it's really not, it's gonna help the renovation project. But thing is, look what happened to the Hopkinton Library when the lightning struck. They had the wrong type of, fire suppression, and a lot of damage was done. And we have nothing right now, per se.
There's a lot of buildings in the state like that.
Right, and so we wanted to look at, how can we preserve what we have now as as part of the maintenance project, probably.
And then again, I'd say that's more of a capital improvement, that's fine that you wanna do that, but I think
Right,
it should be a capital thing.
We're not gonna
warrant
bite
article
up more than we can chew. The other thing is, I mean, we already prioritize things, like, the fire department is a priority.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And the thing is,
You gotta fix this leak.
and the thing is, the transfer station is always a priority, as far as, it can't shut down.
No.
The road agent has issues with his building, he can't shut down.
Like Palace.
Yeah, right. No, and the thing is, I hear
Work
what
outside
you're,
all the time anyway, what's the difference?
I hear what you're saying
Yeah.
regarding,
Seriously.
yeah, but the thing is, what we were looking at is, what we can do to complement, others. We don't wanna put in a maintenance issue in there, fix something, that says a panel in there, upgrade a panel, for example, then find out we put the wrong panel in that would support or complement what's gonna be going on
Oh,
with the,
absolutely.
and that's our goal, that's our goal.
When you're doing your maintenance, obviously you wanna look to the future and scale it accordingly, however, again, if you start taking and branching too far, now it's overreach.
Absolutely, and I concur with that, and the thing is, that's why we're being very careful on the projects we choose. Point noted. Woody, anything? Mr. Rowley?
Yeah, speaking about roofs and stuff, we should really seriously look at our flat roof on our addition.
Okay,
We talked about it a little bit last year, kinda ripped up a little bit and I patched it back down.
okay.
I thought you fixed that, Jeff.
Hmm?
I thought you fixed that.
I took it and put some big,
Feel it back
Okay.
down.
some screws and tower on it.
What you-
Want me to look at yours, John?
What you wanna do is seriously get, you want us to look at it seriously. So,
We talked about, we would look at, come up with a game plan.
we need to know what would be the cost, some pictures, quotes, and stuff like that would be helpful.
I have no idea what to put on it or
No.
anything about it, I mean, we're.
You'd have to
gonna
call in- call-
Roofing people come,
same people we have look at that building.
you know, kind of
Yeah, that's a good idea.
a proposal on what could be done with it.
We're gonna compliment,
Okay. I'm gonna reach out to his vendor.
Yeah,
And then I'll have him look at
Yeah,
it
and
at the same time.
Dave would probably know more than I do for sure about it. They had put some sort of, when you look at it, it looks like rolled roofing to me. And
Right, so-
heat it up with a torch and sealed it down. It's not a rubber, to me, it doesn't look like a rubber type roof. It looks like rolled felt paper.
Probably what you want is rubber.
Roll roof
Yeah.
has no warranty.
So, no, so I don't, and it's getting to be quite old.
Yeah.
We had a little wind damage, but like I said, I was able to secure it.
Yeah, and they have
back
some
down.
better products now, but.
Yeah, and I don't know what we can, not get away with, but would be adequate to put on there.
So how many cans of Flex Seal did you buy?
Metal?
I go get the tar down at the hardware store and put that on, that works, but gallon of tar does wonders.
Very
I'm a
good.
tar guy.
No, we'll put that on the,
Yeah, we
Settle
can maybe
that.
come up with a long
Yep. Because-
advice on what to do to it.
Yep, we'll have someone look at it when we come in, not a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll send them a reminder.
It's not, my knowledge, it isn't leaking, but,
Isn't that tar in your road budget?
yeah. I can't get a paper.
Do it by hand, you got hand work, it's a contract.
That's true. I didn't think.
Okay, thank you for attending, and we're gonna close the meeting now.
Make a motion to adjourn at 8:37.
Second.
So moved.
You want any of this paperwork?
No.